I'm just going to get straight in with the reading and then we'll come back. Reading courtesy of Creative Life Spiritual Center. My name is David. I'm one of the ministers there. And the readings are from the Science of Mind magazine, the Daily Guides. Today's writing, if you like, is called Focus on Your Desire. First quote is from Dr. Libby Adams. I looked her up, and from what I best can guess, Eugene Holden, the writer, is referring to one who does transformational meditation and also NLP, otherwise neuro-linguistic programming. I'm familiar with neuro-linguistic programming. I guess you could say I do transformational meditation, but probably not in the way that she does. So, focus on your desire. Desire is the internal fire of motivation. Desire creates motivation, intention, and focus. And Ernest Holmes in Creative Mind says, the impulse of the spirit to move must be caused by a desire to express what it feels itself to be. Beauty, form, color, life, love, and power. And they're talking here about God, ground of all being, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. And this is what Eugene Holden has to say. He's a religious science practitioner. He's been a practitioner for ever, a long, long time. And he's well respected in the Science of Mind movement. He says, I used to think intention was the starting point of what I wanted to create. Actually, the starting point is desire. Without desire, the intention cannot be set in motion. In Science of Mind, we attempt to live in the knowing that there is only one life, and that life is God, the All, and that life is our life right now. In other words, we are expressing infinite intelligence. We're not all of infinite intelligence, but we are an aspect of it in the sense that we're expressing it. This line is succinctly put in the first two steps of affirmative prayer, which we usually call spiritual mind treatment. God is all there is, and we're one with God. There's an infinite intelligence that desires, among other things, for us to be here. We'll unpack this in a little bit. Let me suggest that we do not try to figure out where this intelligence with the capital I comes from, or why it is. Instead, he says, let us accept the truth that it is, that we come from an intelligence that desires to express as us. We'll come back to this as well. Let us also accept the truth that we are imbued with the same intelligence and power to create our own world in the way that we want. And that's the basis of spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. In Creative Mind, the publication, Ernest Holmes writes, the one who desires to heal must stop seeing, reading about, discussing, or listening to conversations about sickness. End of quote. In other words, stay focused on what you desire. If you desire health, stay focused on health. If you desire peace, stay focused on peace. If you desire love, stay focused on love. And the latter part really sums it up. It's a really strange thing. You know, I teach world religions, and one of the religions I talk about, I'm not an expert in it by any means, but I went through a whole semester on it, and that's Buddhism. And it's often quoted that Buddhism says that the cause of all suffering is desire. But it's not really true. What is really true is attachment. Suffering is caused by attachment. And what Eugene Holden here is pointing out to us that before we can intend to do something, we have to know what it is that we intend to do. It's really that simple. Before we intend to do something, we've got to know what we intend to do. So if you intend to go shopping, then you have to know that you want to go shopping. And probably you've got to know that you want to go shopping for something. Although some people probably just go shopping for the sake of shopping, but most of us go shopping because we need something. And if you're looking for a new house, then the desire to have a new house begins before the intention to have a new house starts. That's what he's saying here. And then he quotes Ernest Holmes at the end there on about sickness. And what he's saying there is that most of us are not mentally strong enough to be able to think about sickness, but with our minds focused positively on health. Is it feasible never to come across or talk about sickness? No, of course not, because let's face it, lots and lots of people, that's all they do talk about. But the truth is that the more they talk about it, the more they are tending to attract. And that's one word that we often forget. We're tending to attract. Our thoughts and feelings produce something that's tending towards us. And then depending on how strong they are, depends whether they will come into being or not. So the whole premise of this writing really is to tell us that, we have to desire something in order for it to start being an intention, for it to start happening. And then unsaid really is the fact that we need to focus on what it is that we want that's positive, will help us, will help the world. So that's what I get out of this. And as I said, I interpret the Buddhist philosophy as attachment is what causes suffering. The Buddha went out on his big journey to try and find out what was the cause of human suffering and came to the conclusion that it was attachment to things, which is true. If you're attached to something and you lose it, then you feel a sense of loss. And depending what that thing is, will depend on how great that loss is. But personally, I choose to be attached to things, knowing that when they go, yes, I'll feel a sense of loss, but that's okay. I think that's part of being human, and I accept it. When we took on a little Cocker Spaniel dog, it was a rescue dog, and when we brought it into our house, it was already like 10 years old. So it was obviously it wasn't going to live for a terrible long time. It lived for 4 years after we got it, Lily. She was a nice little dog, small to medium sized dog. But I knew that when we took her in, that there would come a time when we would suffer the loss of her leaving, and it wouldn't be in the very distant future, it'd be in the relatively near future. But for me, it was worth knowing that I was going to have that loss for all the love that went on in between. So to me, it was worth it. So I don't fully ascribe to the idea that I don't want to be attached to anything. That's not my goal at all. My goal is to know that even though I'm attached to something and I lose it, there's something much greater beyond that. So I choose to keep my attachments knowing that there will be loss. And that's fine. And grieving is part of being human, I think. But desire is definitely the beginning of anything happening, as far as I'm concerned. It's not Buddhist philosophy, it's quite different, but there you are. That's my philosophy, that it's okay to be attached to something. And it's okay to have desires, because desires are what keep the world moving, keep us bringing things into our experience, which I think is good, providing it's all in balance. So, tomorrow will be our service at 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock Central Time. If you cannot make it to our service in person on Spring Stubner, which is roughly, if you live in this area, it's at the intersection approximately of Gosling Road and Spring Stubner Road. It's a little east of that intersection. We are on Facebook Live. And if you miss that, you can see the recording. And if you don't go to Facebook, you can see it on YouTube. And maybe we'll have it on other things as well. Who knows? So, and then, of course, Reverend Lisa will be doing her bit tomorrow morning. Since the pandemic began, Reverend Lisa has not missed a morning, as far as I know, at 9:15 a.m. reading from different things. And I've been reading from the Science of Mind Daily Guides, also from the beginning of the pandemic. And it's part of our service to everybody, to our spiritual center, but to humanity in general. So there you are. So tune into her, tune back to me tomorrow, tune into our service. And if you like these messages, please, yes, give us a like, but please pass them on, because our purpose really is to help the world be a better place. That's all. That's our main purpose. Be better ourselves, help the world be a much better place. Until next time, namaste.